Shabbat Shalom, everybody, and good Shabbos from Huntington. It was a pretty nice day today. The sun was out, saw some blue sky, a little bit of chill in the air, but otherwise a really, really nice almost near the ending of January. It's a good week. It was a good week, and here we are on Shabbat, or at Shabbat. And let's start by taking a couple of deep breaths. Let's take 3 deep breaths. Let the week go with all the stresses and all the anxiety that the week brought with it. So let's take a deep breath in and out, feeling the tension and the anxiety leave. Let's take another deep breath in and out, starting to relax and ease our way into Shabbat. One more deep breath in and out, finding our way into the calm and beauty that is Shabbat. We're going to begin on page 2, and I have Sam here right beside me, and he's going to lead us in the benching, the licht benching, or the lighting of the candles, page 2 and 3.
As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we, by our lives, give light to all who behold us. As their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we in our own day be among those who kindle light. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lahalik ner shel Shabbat.
Amen. Thank you, Sam. Let's turn to page 6, and let's read responsibly in the middle of the page. May the door of this synagogue be wide enough to receive all who hunger for love, all who are lonely for friendship.
May it welcome all who have cares to unburden, thanks to express, hopes to nurture.
May the door of this synagogue be narrow enough to shut out pettiness and pride, envy and enmity.
May its threshold be no stumbling block to young or straying feet.
May it be too high to admit complacency, selfishness, and harshness.
May the synagogue be, for all who enter, the doorway to a richer and more meaningful life.
All right. Let's move to page 20. Page 20 for Lecha Dodi, a mystical song, a mystical poem, a mystical hymn, if you like, written in Sfat, in the northern part of Israel, in the Galil, probably one of the most beautiful parts of Israel, one of the most beautiful parts of the world that I've ever been to. And we're going to change things up a little bit. I think, this week I celebrated on Wednesday a little bit, and I'm still a little bit happy. And so there's a Hasidic sounding Lecha Dodi tune that I like. I don't know if it's Hasidic or not, but it makes me happy when we sing it. And so this week we're going to change up the tune just this week. Lecha Dodi lihikrat kala yadala 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 p'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha Dodi lihikrat kala yadala 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 p'nei Shabbat nekabela. Shamor v'zachor b'dibor echad Ishmi'anu el hamyuchad Adonai echad u'shmo echad L'shem u'tiferet ve'litila Lecha dodi likrat kala yalalai 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 B'nei Shabbat nekabela Lecha dodi likrat kala yalalai 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 B'nei Shabbat nekabela Likrat Shabbat lechu v'necha Ki hi mikor ha-bracha Merosh mikedem nisucha Sof ma'aseh b'machshava tchila Lecha dodi likrat kala yalalai 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 B'nei Shabbat nekabela Lecha dodi likrat kala yalalai 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 B'nei Shabbat nekabela Yamin u'smol tifrotzi V'et Adonai taritzi Al yadish ben partzi V'nismecha v'nagila Lecha dodi likrat kala yalalai 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 B'nei Shabbat nekabela Lecha dodi likrat kala yalalai 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 B'nei Shabbat nekabela Boi v'shalom ateret bala Gam b'simcha uv'tzohala Toch emunei hamskula Boi chala Lecha dodi likrat kala yalalai 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 B'nei Shabbat nekabela Lecha dodi likrat kala yalalai 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 B'nei Shabbat nekabela. If it's not Hasidic, it should be. I'm telling you. Can't help but get your feet tapping with that particular version of Lecha Dodi. Let's turn to page 22, and near the bottom of the page, let's read together a song for Shabbat. It is good to praise Adonai, to sing hymns to your name, O Most High, to proclaim your steadfast love at daybreak, your faithfulness each night. With a 10-stringed harp, with voice and lyre together, you have gladdened me by your deeds, Adonai. I shout for joy at your handiwork. How great are your works, Adonai. How very subtle your designs. A brute cannot know, a fool cannot understand this. And let's continue with the Hebrew, with the indented lines in the middle of the page. Tzadika tahamar yifrach ke'erez balvanon yiskeh shetuli behevet Adonai B'chatzrot Eloheinu Yahafrichu O Jinuvun B'Seva D'Shenim V'Ra'ananim Yihiyu Lehagi Ki Yashar Adonai Zuri Velo Avlatabo. Let's turn to page 24, and we'll continue. We'll continue with Shalom Aleichem, another mystical hymn. This time taking the idea out of Masechet Shabbat, the section of the Talmud that deals with Shabbat, and talks about angels coming to spend Shabbat with us. So they wrote a song, a hymn about that. Top of page 24, Shalom Aleichem. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei HaSharet, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem l'shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon. Mihi Melech, Malachei Amlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Barchuni l'shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech Malachei Amlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tzeitchem l'shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We've completed Kabbalat Shabbat. We've eased our way into the Sabbath. We've greeted the Sabbath bride as she comes to spend Shabbat with us. We've greeted the angels who come to spend Shabbat with us. And now we'll continue with the evening service proper, Aravit l'Shabbat, the evening service for Shabbat. You'll find it beginning on page 145. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah, v'yalma divrach hirutei v'yamlik malchutei, b'chayechon u'v'yomechon u'v'chayei dechol beit Yisrael. Bahagala, uvizman kariv, v'yimeru, amen. Yehi shmei rabba mivorach, le'olam lo me'omaya. Yitbarach, v'yishtabach, v'yitpar, v'yitramam, v'yitnaseh, V'yitadar, v'yitalev, v'yithalal, shmei de kudisha, b'richu, leila min kol birchata, v'shirchata, tushbechata, v'nechemata, dahamiran b'yamha, v'yimeru, amen. Page 146, the formal call to evening worship, Baruch Hu. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed. Let's continue on 147, reading responsively near the bottom of the page. Adonai, your majesty is proclaimed by the marvels of earth and sky. Sun, moon, and stars testify to your power and wisdom.
Day follows day in the succession, and the years vanish, but your sovereignty endures forever.
Though all things pass, let not your glory depart from us. Help us to become co-workers with you and endow our fleeting days with abiding worth. Baruch atah Adonai Hama'ariv Aravim. Top of page 148, Ahavat Olam. Ahavat Olam Beit Yisrael Amcha Havta Torah u'mitzvot Chukim u'mishpatim Otanu limadeta, al kein Adonai Eloheinu, Eloheinu, B'shofbeinu V'kumeinu, Nasiach Bechukecha, V'nismach B'divrei Toratecha, Uv'mitzvotecha, V'olam va'ed. Ki heim chayinu, v'orech yameinu, v'orech yameinu, uvahem nehege yomam v'layla, yomam v'layla. Ve'ahavatecha tasir mimenu li'olamim, Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol meodecha v'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom halevavecha v'shinantam levanecha V'dibarta bam, v'shivtecha b'veitecha, uvlektecha v'derech, uv'shofbecha uv'kumecha, ukshartam liot al yadecha, v'hayu letotafot b'neinecha, uchtavtam al mezuzot beitecha, u'visharecha. Lema'an tizkeru va'asitem et kol mitzvotai v'tem kedoshim le'Elohechem. Ani Adonai Elohechem, asher hotzeiti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim liot lachem le'Elohim. Ani Adonai Elohechem. On page 151, let's read responsively in English. We worship the power that unites the universe, a promise of harmony for all.
Yet that oneness eludes our grasp as imperfection and evil abound.
Before our eyes, there is a vision of perfection, order, and goodness.
There is evil enough to break the heart, and there is good enough to exalt the soul.
When will redemption come?
When we grant everyone what we claim for ourselves.
Long ago, we escaped the tyranny of Egypt. Our people saw the power of the Most High.
We learned God's presence redeems time and event, so we celebrate this power that makes for freedom.
Top of page 152, Mi Chamocha. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar ba'kodesh, nora tehilot osef ele, malchutecha ra'u vanecha, bokeyam lifnei Moshe, Ze Eli anu v'yamru Adonai yimloch li'olam v'hed v'nehemar kifad Adonai et Yaakov ugalo mi'ad chazak mimenu Baruch atah Adonai Ga'al Yisrael. Top of page 153. Let's continue with Hashkivenu. The first two lines we'll sing together. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom v'ha'amidenu shomreinu l'chaim. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom, v'ha'amidenu shomreinu l'chaim. And let's read together in English near the bottom. Give us a place to rest, O God. Shelter us in the long, soft evening shadows of your truth. You are true protection and safety. In your presence we find love and acceptance. Watch over us as we go forth. Prepare for us as we return. Spread over us your shelter of peace, over all we love, over our Jerusalem and yours. Baruch atah Adonai, haporei sukkot shalom aleinu, v'al kol amo Yisrael, v'al Yerushalayim. Page 154, verses from the book of Shemot, from the book of Exodus, Vishamru. Vishamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat לדורותם ברית עולם ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם וביום השביעי שבת וינפש ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. Friends, we're at the central prayer for the evening service this week, the Amidah, and you'll find it beginning on page 155, and we'll continue chanting together 156 and 157, and then we'll continue slowly. Well, you can continue slowly, but also silently from 158 through the end on 167. You can chant along with us and then continue reading in the Hebrew. You can read the English, or you can offer up your own prayer during this time. But we're going to begin together on 155. Adonai sifatai tiftach ufi yagi tehilatecha. Adonai sifatai tiftach ufi yagi tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor, Mahanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'konei Hakol, V'zocher chasdei avot ve'imahot, u'mevi goel ibnei b'neihem, leman shemo b'yahava, melech ozer u'moshia u'magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham, V'ezrat Sarah, Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai, V'chaye Metim Atara L'Hoshia, Mashiv HaRuach, U'morid HaGashem, Mechalkel Chayim B'chesed, V'chaye Metim B'rachamim Rabim, Somech Noflim V'rofech Cholim, Umatir Hasurim, Umekayem Emunato, Lishenei Afar, Bichamocha Bal Gevurot, Umido Melach, Melech Memit Umechayeh, Umatzmiach Yeshua, V'ne'eman atah l'chayot metim, Baruch atah Adonai, Mechayeh hametim. Still completing your Amidah, please continue at your own pace. We're going to continue in the middle of page 160, reading together in English. May these hours of rest and renewal open our hearts to joy and our minds to truth. May all who struggle find rest on this day. May all who suffer find solace. May all who hurt find healing on this day. May all who despair find purpose. May all who hunger find fulfillment on this day. And may we all live in such a way that this day fulfill its promise. Baruch atah Adonai Mekadesh HaShabbat. Now let's have a little hoda'ah, a little bit of gratitude for this Shabbat and the week that we've just had. So let's read responsively on the top of page 163. For the good in us, which calls us to a better life, we give thanks.
For the strength to improve the world with our hearts and our hands, we offer praise.
For the desire in us which leads us to work for peace, we are grateful.
For life and nature, harmony and beauty, for the hope of tomorrow, all praise to the source of being.
And let's close out our Amidah, our central prayer this evening, on page 164 with Shalom Rav. Shalom Rahav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rahav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Ki atahu melech adon lechol hashalom. Ki atahu melech adon lechol hashalom. Shalom Rahav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rahav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. V'tov b'necha livarech Et Amcha Yisrael Bechol Eit Uvechol Sha'a Bishlomecha. Shalom Rahav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rahav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam. Let's read responsively in English. Grant us peace, your most precious gift, O eternal source of peace, and give us the will to proclaim its message to all the peoples of the earth. Bless our country as a safeguard of peace, its advocate among the nations. May contentment reign within our borders, health and happiness within our homes.
Strengthen the bonds of friendship and fellowship among the inhabitants of our world. Plant virtue in every soul, and may the love of your name hallowed every home and every heartbeat.
Praised are you, Adonai, who blesses your people with peace. Baruch atah Adonai, hamivorech et amo Yisrael, b'shalom. Just notice something about that that last blessing. It's called a chatima. It's a chatima is the ending blessing of a longer blessing. A chatima is like a signature, right? It tells you what the prayer was about. If you're interested in just like the Cliff Notes version, the English omits a word. The English is nice. Praise you, Adonai, who blesses your people with peace. But in the Hebrew, it's who blesses your people Israel with peace. So I just noticed that. So much for my close reading of the English. All right, let's jump ahead to 253 for the Mishaberach, the prayer for healing. Literally, the one who blessed, or who blesses. Actually, this would be the one who blessed. And we'll keep in our thoughts and near our hearts those people who need a little bit of extra healing this Shabbat, whether it's physical, emotional, or spiritual. But we're in the middle of page 253. Mi shebeherach avotenu mikor habracha leimotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Mi shebeherach imotenu mikor habracha le'avotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen. Let's continue on pages 258 and 259, reading together the prayer for our congregation, for our country, and for Medinat Yisrael, the state of Israel. Source of all being, may the children of this community learn these passions from us: love of Torah, devotion in prayer, and support of the needy. May we guide with integrity, and may our leadership be in your service. May those who teach and nourish us be blessed with satisfaction, and may we appreciate their time and their devotion. Bless us with the fruits of wisdom and understanding, and may our efforts bring fulfillment and joy. Baruch atah Adonai, she'otecha levadcha b'yirah na'avod. Thus says Adonai, this is what I desire, to unlock the fetters of wickedness and untie the cords of lawlessness, to let the oppressed go free, to break off every yoke. Share your bread with the hungry and take the wicked poor into your home. When you see the naked, give clothing, and do not ignore your own kin. If you banish the yoke from your midst, the menacing hand, the evil speech, if you offer compassion to the hungry and satisfy the famished creature, then your light shall shine in darkness. Avinu Shabashamayim, Tzur Yisrael v'go'alo, Barech et Medinat Yisrael, Reshit Tzmichat Geulatenu. Hagein Aleha bi'evrat chastecha, Ufros Aleha Sukat Shlomecha, Ushlach Orcha v'amitecha l'rosheha, Sareha v'yoetzeha. V'takneim be'etza tova milfanecha, v'natata shalom ba'aretz, v'simchat olam liyoshveha, v'nomar Amen. O Heavenly One, Protector and Redeemer of Israel, bless the state of Israel, which marks the dawning of hope for all who seek peace. Shield it beneath the wings of your love, spread over it the canopy of your peace. Send your light and truth to all who lead and advise, guiding them with your good counsel. Establish peace in the land and fullness of joy for all who dwell there. Amen. All right, friends, Shabbat Shalom and good Shabbos. We are moving through the book of Exodus, and we are at Parashat Bo. Now, this is a pivotal chapter in the Torah, if not in the entire Bible. This is this parasha, and especially chapter 12. Chapter 12 is where Rashi, our famous medieval commentator, says the Torah actually should start. Forget the stories in Bereshit, he says. The real issue starts in this chapter, and we're going to talk a little bit about that tonight, why that is, and a little bit about that, or a lot about that, tomorrow. But Moshe, the parsha picks up with Moshe and Aharon, the two brothers, continuing to plead with Pharaoh. And he goes back and forth, but he continually refuses to give in. And then they bring 3 more plagues, right? Last week we had the first 7. This week we get the final 3. The plague of locusts, the plague of darkness, and then finally Makat HaBechorot, the slaying of the firstborn. With the death of the firstborn, this is the one that finally causes Pharaoh to break. He says, get out of here, leave. And the Israelites, as they're getting ready to leave, they borrow, as the Torah says, gold and silver from the Egyptians to take with them. Now, there's been a lot of ink spilled on what that word borrow means. because if you borrow something, the idea is that you're going to return it. And since the Israelites had absolutely no intention of ever returning to Egypt, it's more borrowing quotes. And a number of commentators say that, and the Egyptians gave this willingly, I guess because they just wanted the Israelites gone. This was for services rendered for the 400 years that they had been there, and for the many, many decades and centuries that they had been enslaved. This is their payment on their way out. At midnight on the 14th day of the first month, right? Now, this is the 14th day of the first month, but earlier in that chapter, God says, you're going to establish a calendar. And the Rosh Chodesh of the months, the first of all the months, the Rishon, the first month is Nisan, and that's going to mark the beginning of your calendar. So our year actually starts on Nisan, the first of Nisan, and on the 14th, midnight on the 14th, Moshe leads Bnei Yisrael out of Egypt after 430 years of living there. And embedded in this narrative, between them getting their gold and getting ready to leave, we have Pesach. We have the story of Passover. And it's quite, in Yiddish you would say it's shvach. The Passover in the Torah is kind of shvach. It's kind of small. It's kind of weak. It's not the big production that it becomes. They're to recall their liberation each year with a special commemoration ceremony. And they are to eat roasted meat, matzah, and bitter herbs. Right? So matzah is already figured into the story. And you're not to eat anything with leaven and no yeast products for 7 days. And the first and the last days of this celebration are to be solemn gatherings. We later interpret them to be Yontif, right? The entire holy days. In this narrative, this for this week, that idea of marking the calendar, of establishing a calendar, is the reason why Rashi says this is where we should begin the Torah, because this is the first commandment. This is the first of the mitzvot, the first mitzvah that's given to Bnei Yisrael as a whole. The idea of marking the first day of the first month as being important, that first day of Nisan. All the other previous mitzvot, and there haven't been that many up to this point, right? There's only a handful. I think you could count them all on one hand, the number of mitzvot that have been given up to this point. Of course, that's going to grow vastly as we move through the rest of the Torah. But this idea, this first commandment that's given to Bnei Yisrael, everything else would be given to individuals, right? Adam and Eve, not necessarily as individuals, but as a couple, to be fruitful and multiply. To Noach, the covenant, the brit of the rainbow, although that's not really a commandment, but that was given to an individual. Abraham being told to circumcise himself and all the males in his tribe, that was given to an individual. So all of these previous mitzvot have been given to individuals. This one, marking the first of Nisan as the beginning of the months for us, is the first one given to us as a people. And that's why Rashi says we should begin, if we wanted to, we should start the Torah here. And so Israel's getting ready to leave, although there's still going to be more drama next week, because as you know, from the Cecil B. DeMille movie, Pharaoh will change his mind one last time with disastrous results. So you have to tune in next week to see how the story ends. Well, it doesn't really end. It's just getting started. Okay, we're almost done with the 7 values, the 7 midot, the 7 characteristics of a welcoming community. We've had honor, right? How we honor people. We've had Shalom Bayit, right? A peaceful house, trying to create communities that don't have strife. We had Tselem Elohim, being created in the image of the divine, in the image of God. Last week, we had that all Israel is responsible for each other. We're all responsible for each other. And this week is one that they say all rabbis have one sermon. And I think we have more than one, but I think the way I interpret that is that rabbis find one topic that they keep revisiting. They don't get the same sermon over and over, but they revisit something because they think it's worthwhile. And, some rabbis like to talk about kashrut. Some rabbis like to talk about how to observe Shabbat, and they'll come back and they'll revisit this, dozens of times in their careers. For me, the one that I've always come back to is the idea of shmirat halashon, guarding your tongue. Ethical speech is how it is often explained. Because words are the way we communicate, right? God gave us the power of speech early on. It's what separates us from the rest of God's creation. Now, I know people will say, well, animals can communicate with each other. And I think that they can up to a certain point. But human beings have conversations. Human beings use words in a myriad of ways. And so we need to be careful with them, especially when we're trying to build a community, because what we say, what comes out of our mouths, can have lasting consequences. And the consequences might be good, but the consequences can often be bad as well. When I was growing up, one of the playground, it wasn't a taunt, but it was sticks and stones may break my bones, but names will never hurt me, right? I hated that. I hated that as a child, and I hate it as an adult because it's nonsense. Right? As a martial artist, all right, I've spent off and on. I'm 53. I would say I've spent 40 years involved in martial arts. Right? I've broken all of my fingers and toes at least twice. I can't tell you where and when I broke most of them. Except a couple of spectacular ones that are indelibly etched into my memory. But I can tell you many accounts, or many times, where someone has said something, called me a name, called me out for being different. And that still stings. Even though I might have been 8 or 9, I can still hear people's voices calling me out. And that only gets more with older, right? I remember conversations I've had with people that were tremendously hurtful, and it still hurts. So, yeah, I mean, breaking a finger at the time hurts for a little while. The finger heals, you move on. But when somebody uses words to hurt you, those words can hurt you, and the sting might never go away. So our tradition and our rabbis spend a great deal of time educating us about how we should speak to one another, right? And they break it down into three types of lashon, 3 types of bad speech. There's lashon hara, which is where you use the truth about somebody to hurt them. There's rechilut, which is called tale-bearing, where you use some truth and you make up some stuff, again, to hurt someone. And the third one is motzei shem ra, which means to bring out a bad name, where you just lie about the person, right? There's no truth at all. You just lie. You make stuff up out of whole cloth. The rabbis have no problem with difficult speech, meaning if you have to talk to somebody about something sensitive, or if you have to call them out on something, the rabbis are fine with that as long as you do it within a certain type of parameter. They're not saying everything has to be gentle, But you don't want to embarrass somebody. You don't want to use harsh language when you don't have to, because again, words are very powerful. They can damage and destroy, or they can repair and heal, or they can build and heal. In the book of Proverbs, in Mishlei, there's a famous line that always gets quoted, Mavet v'chayim biyad lashon, that life and death are in the hand of the tongue. Meaning you can lift someone up with your words and give them chayim, give them life, or you can tear them down and give them mavet. You can destroy them, literally kill them. And in the Talmud, in a number of sections, the rabbis say when you embarrass someone with your words, it's like you're spilling blood. It's akin to murder. You're not physically killing the person, but you're emotionally killing the person. You're slaughtering their reputation. And so the rabbis are really, really big on impressing upon us the power of words and their lasting impact. And we never know how our words will affect someone, right? We might say something and somebody gets upset and says, no, I was just saying, I just words. It doesn't matter. But to the person who hears it, it just might matter. And how we speak about each other within our community says a lot about our community, right? If we're always talking about people in negative ways, that says a lot about the community that we're trying to build. And not only does it say to the members of the community, but people outside the community will see that as well. Are we kind or are we divisive? Are we mean or do we speak words of kindness to people when we see them? We can use our words to build a strong community. And even when we're discussing difficult or challenging topics, we can do so with respect, kavod, right? That first trait that we talked about. And if we remember that everybody's Tselem Elohim, if we remember that everybody is created in God's image, then we can temper our words when we're speaking. If we view people with kavod, with respect, and remember that they're Tselem Elohim, if we have that idea firmly embedded in our minds, then our words will follow. There's a teaching that comes from one of the great Musar rabbis, and I can't find the exact source, but he says it's easy to speak kind words and to stay away from things like Lashon Hara, away from gossip and things. If you follow three rules. Before you talk, answer these three questions. Is what I'm going to say true? Is what I'm going to say necessary? And finally, is what I'm going to say kind? Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Good Shabbos. Sam, what's Kiddush? Thank you. Thank you. It's time for Kiddush. Vayhi Erev, Vayhi Voker, Yom HaShishi. Vayichulu Hashamayim v'haaretz v'chol tzivam. Vayichal Elohim b'yom hashvi'i melachto asher asa. Vayishpot b'yom hashvi'i mikol melachto asher asa. Vayivarech Elohim et yom hashvi'i vayikadesh oto. Kivo shavat mikol melachto asher bara Elohim la'asot. Savri. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech olam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu, v'shabbat kodsho b'ahava uvratzon, Hinchilanu, Zikaron Lemase Bereshit, Ki hu Yom Techila Lamikrae Kodesh, Zecher Letziat Mitzrayim, Ki vanu vacharta, Viotanu Kidashta, Mikol Ha'amim, Mishabat Kodshecha, Biahava Uratzon, Inchaltanu, Baruch atah Adonai, Mekahadesh HaShabbat. All right. We are just about done with this Friday night service, and we'll continue with Aleinu, page 282. Aleinu l'shabeach la'adon ha'kol, la'teit gedula liotzer breshit, shelo asanu kagoye ha'aratzot, v'lo samanu k'mishpachot ha'adama, shelo sam chelkeinu kahem, v'gohor aleinu kechol hamonam, v'anachnu korim, Umishtachavim umodim Lifnei melech Malchei hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu Shehu noteh shamayim v'yoser haaretz Umoshav yekaro b'shamayim imal Ushchinatu zo B'gomhei meromim Hu Eloheinu Einot Emet Malkeinu Efesulato Kakatu V'Torato V'yadata Hayom V'Hashevota Elevavecha Ki Adonai Hu Elohim V'Shamayim Imal V'al haaretz, mihi tachat ein od. Let's continue together on the top of page 285. Let the time not be distant, O God, when all shall turn to you in love, when corruption and evil shall give way to integrity and goodness, when superstition shall no longer enslave the mind, nor idolatry blind the eye. But may all created in your image become one in spirit and one in friendship, forever united in your service. Then shall your realm be established on earth, and the word of your prophet fulfilled. Adonai will reign forever and ever. V'ne'emar v'haya Adonai l'melech al kol ha'aretz v'yom hahu yihyeh Adonai echad Ushemo echad. This week we continue the Shloshim for Sally Hayflick. And this week we observed the following yahrzeits: Fred Goldman, grandfather of Nancy Neufeld; Sheldon Mo Levine, Ethel's son, Regina's father; Mary A. Milligan, Tamara Murphy's grandmother; Jacob Brown, father of Irvin; Israel Lazarus, relative of May Lazarus; Dr. Meir Poland, Joan Weisberg's mother's youngest brother; father of Barbara and Ronnie. Charles Shradsky, Harold's uncle. Lillian Island, wife of Ted, sister-in-law of Ed. Ray Y. Rubin, Janet Baker's mother. Dr. Sidney Schnitt, husband of Dorothy, father of Jerry, Ronnie, and Laney. Evelyn Brown Silverman, wife of Edward, Edna Baker's sister. Jerome Cantor, husband of Mary, father of Shirley, Rena Stern, and Bobby Cantor. Anna Footlick, Betty Colker's maternal grandmother. Max Kraft, grandfather of Myrtle Kraft Mendel. May their souls be bound up with the bond of life eternal. May their memories be a blessing to us always, and may they all rest in peace. Mourner's Kaddish, page 294. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, be'alma divrach hirute v'yamlik malchute, be'chayechon v'yomechon uv'chaye dechol Beit Yisrael, ba'agala v'zman kari v'imru amen. Yehi shmei Rabbah mivorach li'olam u'lomei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yithadar, v'yitalev, v'yithalal, shmei dekudisha, brichu, le'elam min kol birchata v'shirata, tush b'chata v'nechamata, da'amiran b'yalma v'yimru, amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu v'yal kol Yisrael v'yimru, amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, Hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu kol Yisrael v'yimru, amen. All right, friends, Shabbat Shalom and good Shabbos. Just a couple of quick announcements. Services tomorrow at 10 a.m. and then again Sunday morning at 9. And then Sunday afternoon, we're going to bring a close to the first session of our adult sessions, our adult ed classes, let my people know. And we're going to close out with Battling Brothers, Esav and Yaakov, the story of Esau and Jacob. And it's a powerful story. It really, really is. And it affects how Jews view the world today. So it's one of those stories. And then on Wednesday night, we have the Best Little Yiddish Choir Anywhere, and you'll be getting a Zoom link for that. And Sam, is that it for the week? All right, it's kind of a quiet week. This week, if we weren't in kind of lockdown and not meeting live, we would be having a Tu B'Shvat Seder. Tu B'Shvat, the 15th of the month of Shvat, will fall this week. And it's a Rosh Hashanah. It is one of the 4 that we have, and it's the New Year for trees. So that's this week for Tu B'Shvat. There's nothing really liturgical. There's no special service or anything. The Seder comes to us from the mystics in Sfat. And so, but God willing, next year for Tu B'Shvat, we'll be able to meet and have a Seder in person. Was that song by Gary Glitter? Is that the one we were thinking of before? Yeah, is that Gary Glitter?
I don't know who that is either.
That might be Gary Glitter. I don't know. It's hard to say. No, we're not going to do Gary Glitter tonight. Sorry. But yeah, and so that then after Wednesday, we'll be back on Friday. So I want to thank Sam and James for being here, and for Sam for lighting the candles this evening, and wish you all a Shabbat Shalom and a good Shabbos. We'll close out with Adon Olam. Adon Olam Asher Malach B'terem Kol Yitzir Nivra Li'et Nasa B'chefzo Kol Azai Melech Shemo Nikra V'yacharei Kiklot HaKol Levahado Yimloch Nohora Vehu haya, vehu hoveh, vehu yiyeh b'tifara, vehu echad ve'en sheni, laham shilo lahachbira, b'li reshi, b'li tachlit, Velo ha'oz v'ha'misra, v'hu eli v'chai go'ali, v'tzorchev li v'yetzara, v'hu nisi umanos li, menat kosi b'yomekra, b'yahado aki ruchi, b'yeti shan v'ya'ira, Ruchi Giviati Adonai li Velohira. Let's see who said Shabbat Shalom to us. Who said saying hi this weekend? Up, Judy Lundy, Lila Tov. We'll right back at you, and Shabbat Shalom to you as well. All right, everyone, have a great Shabbat and be safe out there, and we'll see you soon.